Have you ever wondered where God is when your life is falling apart? You know, you're doing your best, but it just doesn't seem to be good enough. Isn't that when God's supposed to jump in and rescue you? And if He doesn't, isn't that evidence that He must not be for real? And those are great questions. Questions we've all asked and struggled with. And in this video, we're going to take a look at Genesis 37 together and process that question. Where is God when life is falling apart? Well, hey there, I'm Jonathan Atwell, pastor of CrossRoads Church, and this is the second Bible study in a series called It's a Beautiful Day, about how we find resilience through faith in Jesus. If you didn't catch the first lesson, you can catch the whole playlist up here. I'm going to do this lesson a little bit differently from the last one. I'm going to divide it into two parts. And here in part one, I'm going to finish introducing Genesis 37 and ask you to read it. In part two, we'll process it together. Part two will be in the link at the end of this video, as well as in the playlist I mentioned a moment ago. If you have time to read Genesis 37 and process it now, and that's awesome. If you need to do part one, to read it, and then come back and do part two another time, you have that option as well. So if you're into praying, take a moment right now and ask God to help you understand Genesis 37. Then take a few minutes to read it. If you're a journaler, make a few notes about what thoughts you have as you read. And then after you have read Genesis 37, check out part two and we'll talk about it. Now, as you read Genesis 37, I want you to think about it as a story. Just read it, enjoy it, and see what thoughts your mind is thinking as you do. And then after you read it, retell the story to yourself a couple times. Try to think about how you could retell the heart of the story in just a couple sentences if someone were to ask you. Well, go ahead, take a moment now, read Genesis 37, and I'll see you right now or maybe later in part two.